What if the world's most powerful aircraft manufacturer willingly handed its biggest rival a monopoly and barely anyone noticed? That's essentially what Boeing did when it announced the end of 767 production. On the surface, it looked like a smart, cost-cutting move. But underneath that decision lies a story of missed opportunities, strategic blind spots, and a market worth hundreds of billions of dollars left wide open for Airbus to dominate. Boeing's recent history has been painful. From the 737 MAX crisis to supply chain meltdowns and a relentless spiral of financial losses, the company has been in full damage control mode. New leadership came in with one mission: stop the bleeding. In doing so, they may have abandoned the one aircraft that could have been Boeing's greatest comeback weapon, the 767. The mid-market, aviation's most valuable battleground. Before we go further, let's understand what the mid-market segment actually means, because it's the heart of this entire story. The mid-market refers to flights that are too long for short-haul narrow bodies but too thin in passenger demand for massive wide-body jets. Think 7 to 10-hour routes connecting smaller cities across oceans, routes like New York to Marrakesh, Dallas to Dakar, or Atlanta to Anchorage. These routes are incredibly valuable for airlines. They open up new destinations, tap into underserved travel demand, and generate strong yields. According to aviation analysts, the mid-market segment represents demand for over 5,000 new aircraft over the next 20 years, a market that's potentially worth over $300 billion. Whoever owns this segment owns the future of long-haul aviation economics. Right now, Airbus is the only one showing up to the fight. The 767, the unsung mid-market hero. Here's something that might genuinely surprise you. Boeing has actually had a mid-market jet in operation for decades, and most people never realized it. The Boeing 767 has quietly been serving these exact kinds of routes for years. United Airlines, the world's largest 767 operator, regularly uses it to connect cities that no other commercial jet could serve economically. Delta has done the same, linking Atlanta to European and even remote North American destinations. The 767's 7-abreast coach layout keeps its capacity modest, far below what most people imagine when they think wide-body. Compare that to the 787 Dreamliner, which Boeing itself called the 767's replacement. It seats nearly 30% more passengers per row. The 787-8 was supposed to fill the same niche, but Boeing has since shifted focus to the larger -9 and -10 variants, effectively abandoning the lower end of the market where the 767 once thrived. Enter the A321XLR, Airbus's market earthquake in 2019. Airbus dropped what many in the industry called a game-changing announcement, the A321XLR, advertised with a range of 4,700 nautical miles. Roughly 11 hours of flight, this narrow-body jet promised to bring wide-body range in a smaller, cheaper package. Airlines immediately went wild for it. Orders flooded in, and Boeing had nothing to offer in response. But here's where it gets fascinating. The XLR isn't perfect. In real-world operations, airlines have struggled to actually reach that advertised range without sacrificing passenger or cargo capacity. On missions over 8 hours, the A320 family's original short-haul design becomes a liability. There are no dedicated crew rest facilities, forcing airlines to block off passenger seats as makeshift crew bunks. That's revenue, literally sitting empty. Suddenly, the XLR's shine isn't quite as bright as the brochure suggests. The 767X, Boeing's blueprint for a comeback. So what if Boeing didn't retire the 767, but reimagined it? Enter the concept aviation enthusiasts have been quietly discussing, the 767X. The idea is elegant in its simplicity. Take the existing 767 platform, whose supply chain tooling and institutional knowledge are all still intact, and pair it with modern engines and updated wings. The result would be a vastly more efficient aircraft with the range, capacity, and comfort that the XLR simply cannot match. The 767X would solve the XLR's biggest weaknesses head-on. It would have true, dedicated crew rest bunks for longer missions. It could be powered by General Electric's GEnx engine, one of the most reliable and fuel-efficient turbofans flying today. Thanks to Boeing's years of work on the KC-46 military tanker itself, based on the 767, much of the avionics, flight deck software, and structural upgrades are already done. Boeing wouldn't be starting from scratch. It would be finishing a puzzle that's mostly already assembled. The hard truth: why Boeing probably won't do it. If the 767X sounds this good on paper, why hasn't Boeing built it? The honest answer is timing and a bet on the future. Boeing's new leadership is banking on a clean sheet design known internally as the 797. A brand new mid-market jet expected to debut by the mid to late 2030s. If a 767X entered service around 2030, it would overlap dangerously close to the 797's planned launch, potentially cannibalizing its own sales. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Boeing has been promising a 797 since the 2010s. The timeline has slipped from the 2010s to the 2020s to now the 2030s. That's nearly 2 decades of coming soon. Meanwhile, Airbus continues racking up XLR orders. And some airlines won't receive their jets until the late 2030s. The window to compete was always there. Boeing just kept choosing not to jump through it. The 767X could have been the bridge that kept Boeing relevant, while the 797 was developed, a cost-effective, proven stopgap with real commercial value. A missed window and what comes next looking back. The ideal moment to launch a 767X was around 2017 to 2019. Right when Airbus unveiled the XLR. At that point, Boeing could have fast-tracked the derivative, captured early orders, bought itself a 20-year runway before the 797 was ready. Aviation analysts who studied the concept at the time believed it was feasible and financially viable. Boeing even internally examined the idea. But the company was already beginning its descent into crisis, and the 767X never made it off the drawing board. Now the window is likely closed. The 767's production line is winding down. The XLR is already flying and building operational history. And Boeing is deep in recovery mode, with no bandwidth or appetite for bold new programs. The 767X story is ultimately a cautionary tale about what happens when a great company loses its confidence and its vision at the same time. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Boeing should reconsider, or is it truly too late? Drop your take in the comments below, and if you found this deep dive valuable, hit that like button and subscribe to Minecrafted, where we break down the complex stories shaping our world, one chapter at a time. See you in the next one.